Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the four card fights for UFC Fight Night, Font versus Vera. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card that I'll be predicting. Well, the first fight on the card because I'm predicting the whole card, per usual. But anywho, so in our first fight, we have in the flyweight division, Tatsuro Taira versus Carlos Candelario. And how I see this one right here is I just feel like Tyra is the more talented fighter, or at least the more threatening fighter from what I've seen. Tyra got a little bit of wrestling, but nothing particularly stand out about him. In fact, his takedown defense is pretty trash. Takedown offense ain't nothing stellar. I feel like you could kind of say, oh, Tyra might have this, Tyra might have that as far as deficiency of wrestling, but I don't think it's anything that I feel like somebody like Connolly will be the one to necessarily expose. But if he does get exposed by a guy like Candelario, that's a real big question mark for his career, because you getting grappled, laid and prayed, blanketed by Candelario. You're supposed to be this big talent, or Japan's next biggest, brightest star. That's some big issues. But I feel like Tatsuro Taira has not necessarily showed any questionable wrestling. Well, at least not like the level that I feel like a guy like Candelario can exploit it. I feel like he should be able to neutralize his wrestling for the most part. If he does get taken out, be to pop right back up, or even initiate some grappling and be able to maybe hit a sweep, threaten a submission, get a submission to give up, to get Connolly off. And by the way, I just feel like, yeah, I ain't worried about Connolly's wrestling, especially not defense. His wrestling, I feel like Tyra could actually out wrestle Connolly. Connolly wrestling, we kind of give him takedowns pretty easily. So if anything, Connolly the one with the questionable wrestling from what I've seen. But yeah, don't feed Connolly pretty basic. Ain't really got no threatening power or anything. No, pretty all right for a first round. But like I said, nothing really threatening about him. And I feel like Tyra can threaten his submissions. Threaten with submissions, pop him on the feet, draw reactions, and then just walk him to counter and crack him. And I feel like he puts him out in the second round. That's what I see in this one. So in this fight, I got Tatsuro Taira via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Gina Mazzani versus Shayna Young. Or Shauna Young. I'm going to say, that's probably Shauna Young, not Shayna, but anywho, she losing out of the way is what I see in this one. Gina Mazzani versus Shayna Young. Shayna Young got a decent size, decent frame. She got a six-pack and all that stuff. But fight IQ ain't the best. She really got a winner mentality. Gina Mazzani ain't the greatest fighter either, but at least she knows how to at least win at this level. I feel like Shayna Young just kind of chokes in these moments and just gives up takedowns, good positions, and it's so comfortable to just give up decision victory. She's just so comfortable just lay on her back, maybe throw some weak submissions and let somebody just control her. And I feel like Gina Mazzani, that's what she's going to do. She's not an amazing striker. She's not necessarily an amazing wrestler, but she can be, a good low-level blanket. And Shayna Young is a fighter I feel who can easily fall to a low-level blanket or a high-level blanket or any level, outside of mid-tier garbage pack blanket. So that value brand blanket in Gina Mazzani should be enough to beat her, I feel, in this one. I feel like Shayna Young going, not really doing much on the feet, gonna be giving up takedowns, be too comfortable to lay on her back. And even if she does attempt to strike, I feel like striking ain't no big different lean from either one. As a matter of fact, I feel like Mazzani could push the higher pace. So on the feet, Mazzani still probably out strike her. On the ground, grab him, Mazzani out position her, and that's just a blanketed decision for Mazzani. So in this fight, I got Gina Mazzani via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Mike Breeden versus Nathan Levy. And I see this one right here between Breeden versus Levy is I feel like Levy's a solid talent. So is Breeden. I feel like Breeden got exploited a little bit in his last fight with his last fight against Hernandez. And I'm forgetting his first name for that reason, but it just be happening. Alexander Hernandez, the names be I be sometimes forgetting the first name, sometimes forgetting the last name. But some of those names be sticking apart. But yeah, Alexander Hernandez. But yeah, with I feel like Alex Hernandez could and did exploit openings in Breeden style. But I don't feel like Nathan Levy can necessarily exploit him. Nathan Levy really ain't got hands like that. He's not one of these flashy kicker type guys. He'll go for some explosive takedowns. But for the most part, really ain't got no hands and really ain't got no chin. And he just throws a bunch of flashy kicks. And his fight IQ isn't the greatest. Breeden, I'm not saying he's no super stellar talent right now, but I like his boxing much better. He got, as far as hand-wise, he got much better hands. I like the fact that he comes in, and likes to get squared up and trade big shots and come in so eagerly. But when Levy really all he does is like spinning kicks, I really ain't have no issues with it. I feel like I'll favor that with Breeden striking over Levy striking, like to corral him, get in the side, touch him up, rip him the body, rip him up top, and systematically break him down. And, take him out of that kicking range. When you get him ripped to your body, you're not doing those spinning kicks. When you get touched to your chin, it really those kicks really ain't there. So I just felt like, and also like I said, I haven't said anything. I'm talking about like I said, what are you saying? But yeah, when Levy, I feel like Breeden had solid takedown offense. Even was able to stuff some real good entries from Hernandez. I think he stuffed all of Hernandez takedowns. It was a short fight, but he stuffed all of Hernandez shots. And Hernandez went for some really good shots, got in real deep. And it's partially for the fact that Hernandez shot a good shot, also for the fact that Breeden comes in so square sometimes that, like I said, he can get caught with these takedowns. He opens up for them, but it's probably even with not textbook way of entering or striking at times. A lot of times, he still is able to defend these takedowns so well. Like he'll give his opponent the angle, he'll be wide open for it. They'll shoot a perfect shot, and he still is able to corral the shot, get his underhooks, and stuff the takedown. So the guy has some solid takedown defense despite having, like I said, not the best technique for it. He's not textbook way of going about it, but still works. I don't really rate Levy as such a great wrestler. Maybe at a lower level, the cans he was fighting, but at the UFC level, it's all right at the UFC level. At the lower end, very lower end. But yeah, I feel like Breeden should be the stuff most takedown. I feel like Levy can get some takedowns, but I feel like it's nothing I feel Breeden should worry about. Ultimately, I just feel like it's in the case of Breeden being able to maybe mix in some of his own takedowns, stuff a lot of Levy's takedowns, pressure him, rip him the body, and start to bring those shots up top. It's not like Levy necessarily has his hands up ever anyway, but rip him to the body even more kind of frees him up. Then it will open up those shots up top. Levy not expecting it, be more susceptible to getting rocked. And also, this when you get ripped to the body, it's gonna wear you down a little bit more. And when you get wore down, you can't take shots the best either. So I just feel it's gonna be a case where Breeden just wears down Levy, just constantly in his face, constantly pressuring, stuffing takedowns. If he gets taken down, looking to work back to his feet, and it's constantly pressuring Levy, ripping the body, rip him top, break him down. And I see I'm gonna say third round TKO. So in this fight, I got Mike Breeden via third round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Johan Lainez versus Gabe Green. And how I see this one right here is feel like this is a very pick'em fight right here. I feel like the wrestling of Lainez probably is the most worrisome thing for me in this one. Matter of fact, the power in wrestling. But yeah, I feel like power in wrestling. I feel like Gabe Green's wrestling defense is pretty questionable. I feel like he's the better grappler. I feel like that's a clear edge for him. Wrestling, I'll give Lainez a clear wrestling edge in this one. I don't think his wrestling technique is all that great. I think it's more so Green. I feel like he got good good eye for entries and good shots. The technique isn't all that great, but as far as seeing the window when it presents itself and exploding through it, he's good at that level of wrestling. He's not a real good chain wrestler. He's not a real good. Would you say, oh, a guy that's actually a good wrestler, like he would do well in actual wrestling, maybe at high school level, but anything above that, you get tooled by anybody that's would say they do that stuff, like so wrestling, like say low caliber, but in MMA and also with a guy like Gabe Green, he can score some takedowns, some pretty good submission defense on top. So like that's a concern that he could take Green down and ride that top position and neutralize a lot of Green submissions off bottom. But striking wise, I feel like his power is the bigger threat, and maybe a little bit of speed is a big issue. But technique wise, I would not say this man is a world class striker. And definitely not at a world class pure striking level at any sport. And definitely, definitely not at in pure striking. And not even in MMA, I would not say he's necessarily a world class striker. The man does hooks with his chin up and then walks right behind. Like he opens the door, chin up, then walks through the door, chin up. So like he's open for counter hooks, like entering and exiting. Like the man's just sloppy in a lot of ways and aggressive. And I see a lot of times him chasing, swiping hooks while swiping hooks. And that's open for flying knees, hooks, overhands, every single thing you could think in the book. The man's just be walking in through his hooks, like I said, setting the hook up with his chin up in the air, throwing the hook with his chin up in the air, and then following behind the hook, like looking to throw another hook with his chin up in the air. Like it's like very disgustingly sloppy. Now, I hope somebody make him pay for that, so he learned that lesson real quick. But clearly nobody done that. He's 8-0. He should not be 8-0. But has not been fighting the best competition, to be honest. His last guy he fought, that's pretty decent, but yeah. Don't really seem all that great of a striker. And then what I see from Gabe Green, at least look like he's trying to be somewhat defensively sound. Like he's working on it. Like he's trying to move the hedge, trying to keep that rear hand up more. Like I'm saying the willingness to try to be more defensively sound. And also has been there with better guys overall, more tested guys, and like I said, been able to hold his own and get some decent wins. I like his experience here, and I feel like he can push the pace. I feel like it's a very close fight. Probably really gonna be Linnaeus leading in a very close fight. But I feel like Gabe Green, with his pace and experience, is gonna be able to outlast him, outwork him. And then, like I said, in the crunch hours, be able to catch all the fading Linnaeus. And then, like I said, in a scrappy fight, wearing Linnaeus down, and then catching probably worn down, going for a tired, worn down shot, not the best technique. Gary Green been able to sprawl heavy, take his back, and then sink the hooks in, start to like pepper him up, then tap him out in the third round. So in this fight, I got Gabe Green via third round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, Daniel Da Silva versus Francisco Figueiredo. And how I see this one right here is this is really a fight where you really can't judge too much off of it. I feel like Figueiredo at this point probably has a better technique, better talent. I mean, I would say better technique and more experience at this point. But I don't necessarily feel like he has the fire. I feel like he has activity in him. And I feel like that's ultimately going to be the case. I feel like Daniel Silva is the fresher face. Got a lot of talent behind him, but still a greenhorn. But the thing he does have a factor is that, going on a fight that's not the most active, kind of tentative out there, kind of passive. Then you're going to got like Daniel Silva who's going to bring it. And it's not like Figueiredo necessarily has shown to be that great of a finisher. He hasn't. He's been shown to be, like I said, not a finisher in the UFC so far. Like the guy has not been finishing nobody. Hasn't really shown any great power in the UFC necessarily. So like, I feel like if that was a little bit more of a case, it might be a better case for Figueiredo. But I feel like Daniel Silva's pace and aggression is going to favor him in this one, and it's going to be a fight. Even if he didn't really patch the defensive holes in his game, he can get away with them and still be aggressive and just have Figueiredo, like I said, like matter of fact, just simply win by outworking Figueiredo, being more aggressive and outworking Figueiredo. And I feel like Figueiredo going to have his little bouts, but not going to be consistent enough, not going to be acting enough. And when a tight matchup, I don't feel like he's going to be the one necessarily trying to do what it needs to be done or turn up his pace or, change his tune up, change his pacing, and like see that he's down or the fight's tight and that he needs to do something big and look to do that. I feel like in the case of it's gonna be Daniel Silva doing that or Figueiredo, like I said, passively trying to do that, and it's just not gonna be enough. And I simply see Daniel Silva being able to outwork Figueiredo in this one. Like I said, just having that fire in his belly and being a guy with more dog in him and more hunger and more activity and bringing it. So in this fight, I got Daniel Da Silva via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, Alexander Romanov versus Chase Sherman, and how I see this one right here. So first off, I would say those odds are crazy and ridiculous, and especially when you're seeing what just happened last week. I'm not saying Romanov should lose to Chase Sherman by any means. I mean, outside of DQs and no contest and some BS like that, well, no contest is not a loss, but outside of DQs and stuff like that, or whether it be from eye poke or this and that, or any BS, or just like some weird knockout situation. I feel like Romanov should be a heavy favorite, but by no means should he be by no means should Sherman be like a plus 2,000 underdog necessarily, especially or anyone, because unless it was just that clean, it was this is that, but definitely not. As far as betting advice, I would say I would leave this one alone completely. I wouldn't put in a parlay because that money is just way up there. Unless you just got money to blow and you really want the shortest bet you could get. But I don't think it's worth that, to be honest, for most people. You got money, to be honest, but that's my opinion. Romanov versus Sherman, how I see the prediction, I just feel like Sherman's wrestling defense is trash, head movement is trash. I feel like Romanov's a better striker, better wrestler, better overall talent. It's just night and day. And I just feel like he just takes him down, like probably cracks him on the feet, drags him to the mat, pounds him out in that first round. But yeah, all that being said, easy fight for Alexander Romanov, barring some controversy. I see him being a better striker, better overall fighter, cracking Sherman, then drag him to the mat and pounding him out, like cracking him, like probably rock him a little bit on the feet, drag him to the ground, easily transition on the ground, pound him out to the ref pulls him out. Might even knock him out on the ground, like some ground and pound that put Sherman to sleep. But probably a TKO. But out of the way. Alexander Romanov via first round TKO. Now to our main card. So in our first fight on the main card, we have in the middleweight division, Gerard Machart versus Christoph Jocko. And how I see this one right here is I feel like it's a pretty tight matchup. I feel like Machart definitely got some good momentum behind him, but I'm going to lean to I'm leaning towards style-wise with this one. And style-wise, Jocko has historically done pretty well against grapplers for the good last 5+ years of his career. And I think he only has one submission loss on his record. But like I said, that was like early in the UFC day with like 2015. But since then, hasn't done all that bad against grapplers as far as, and then maybe David Branch, but that wasn't by submission. So other than that, the guy's been pretty solid on the ground. Like he hasn't had any issues really losing fights to wrestlers or grapplers, and still holds with like an 80% like a 78 or 80% takedown defense ratio. Machart isn't the greatest wrestler necessarily offensively as far as statistically wise. He's a pretty solid grappler, but Jocko has been in with better grapplers. Machart has not really been the best striker. He has been mostly picked apart on the feet by people. And yeah, I feel like Machart could potentially look to wall install him or just look to crowd him against his cage, maybe work for some takedowns of what he gets them or not. Or maybe look to pressure them, expose that chin of Jocko when he goes back and the chin goes up, maybe catch him a big shot. But like I said, Machart isn't the most high-level striker, isn't the best striker. Wouldn't really him as a great striker or anything like that, or a good striker to really take advantage of those opportunities. I feel like for the most part, he's going to be swinging big shots, not really setting up the best. Probably going for takedowns, getting stuff. Might have one little moment where he gets on the ground, but Jocko going to stay calm, composed, and work back to his feet. But I still see this as a competitive fight, no matter which way it goes. But I'm going with Jocko here. Like I said, I'm going with style-wise. Machart's not a great striker. I feel like Jocko has proven to be the better striker, at least through both their careers. And yeah, I just feel like just stay calm, composed, be a stuff to take down. If he does get taken down, stay calm, composed, and work back to the feet. And like probably would hold Machart to maybe 1 or 2 takedowns at most. You don't feed this out, strike him, and beat him to a decision. So in this fight, I got Christoph Jocko via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Darren Elkins versus Tristan Connolly. And how this fight right here between Elkins versus Connolly is, I think let's see. I think in this one, I don't really see Connolly's path to victory. I mean, he could potentially do this, potentially do that. And he ain't got any notable power or threat on the feet. Like as far as actual damage, not showing that. He's a grappler, but not really a great wrestler. Darren Elkins has shown, heart and toughness, so I don't really feel Connolly's grappling is anything he hasn't seen before. So I feel like Elkins could determine where this fight goes everywhere on the ground. And I really feel like Elkins has shown to be at least much more of a dangerous striker in these fights throughout his career. Been in bigger tests, and I feel like Connolly presents anything that he hasn't seen. Elkins might be fading, might be this, might be that, but I don't really feel like Connolly necessarily has the skill set or the tools that it really matters in this case. I feel like it's not like he'll be cracking Elkins on the feet, I don't see. Then on the ground, it's not like he's such a great wrestler. I feel like Elkins is head and shoulders above him in the wrestling department and has pretty solid submission defense. Should be able to shut down his submission relatively easily. And I see him just grinding him out with relative ease in a 3-round fight. That's all I see. Elkins scoring takedowns, probably crack him on the feet, take him down, and just grind in top position for 3 rounds. So in this fight, I got Darren Elkins via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Jared Gordon versus Grant Dawson. And how I see this one right here is I'm looking at this a lot like the Joe Selecki fight, and I lean Gordon in that Selecki fight. Pretty decent odds, came up pretty good on that one. But I'm going with Dawson here. I picked Gordon against Selecki, but I feel like Dawson can have similar success that Selecki did. And it was not like Gordon won by such a wide margin. I feel like he clearly won. Probably should have been a unanimous decision. But still, I feel like Selecki did have his moments, was able to get a couple takedowns, was able to get a lot of control time in that first round. And I feel like Dawson could do similar, if not better, and should be able to get takedowns, I feel, in every single round. and should be able to get decent control time in every single round. It's not a case of, I feel like he'll be better from the top position, be more active from the top position. And I feel like he's bigger, stronger, the better wrestler, and I feel like the better grappler at this given point. So I feel like it's going to be a competitive fight. I feel like Gordon overall is the more well-rounded fighter. I feel like he's the better striker. I don't really see Dawson as much of a striker. Gordon could definitely push the pace more, but I feel like it's the case where Gordon will do more. But Dawson, like I said, will have that top position more. And really just be able to win that position, win the fight by position, like positional victory. Get the takedowns, maybe land some ground and pound. Like, I'm not saying maybe, he will land some ground and pound. Maybe attempt some submissions, but Gordon staying calm, staying composed, having good volume, but Dawson winning just off top position. And I don't see Dawson trying to necessarily make a statement here. I see him going out there and just looking to get back to the winning side. Like, he came coming off of a draw. I don't see him trying to take any risks or try to tire himself out. Just look to go out there, score takedowns, blanket as much as he can, look to mix up a little bit just so those takedowns open up, and then look to drag Gordon back down. But I say Gordon will defend well, but Dawson will score multiple takedowns and will have significant control time, top control time in this fight. And that will get his hand raised, I feel, in the decision. So probably a tight one as well, but in this fight, I got Grant Dawson via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Andre Philly versus Joe Anderson Burrito. And how I see this one is, Burrito, I feel like a solid fighter, but he's a spaz, and I don't really like spazzes. Goes out there and those with reckless aggression at his own detriment a lot of times. Sometimes it works for him. Like, he goes out there, fights sloppy, fights very aggressive, and still wins the fight a lot of times. He's 12-3, so he's clearly winning more than he's losing. But don't really like the style, especially going there with a veteran like Philly. And I don't feel like Burrito necessarily, I don't know. Either way, I feel this one, Burrito will be aggressive. I feel like Philly's experience will allow him to, deal with it. His skills will allow him to deal with it as well. I feel like his wrestling defense could shut down a lot of Burrito's takedowns, if not all of them. I feel like he can score takedowns, Burrito, shut Burrito's takedowns. Grappling ain't going to be too worried about Burrito. I feel like the biggest thing you got to worry about maybe potentially getting hit with a big shot from Burrito that might turn your lights out. But other than that, I feel like it shouldn't be, I felt smart money. And you constantly lean some money on Philly in this one to, like I said, deal with the first round. Probably even win that round or give it up closely to Burrito. And then, like I said, definitely probably after that second half of that second round, if not really probably a minute or 30 seconds into that second round, you start to see Burrito start to fade, especially missing, getting cracked, maybe giving up takedowns. And then I see Philly just start to walk away, start walking him down, touching him up, Burrito fading and gassing, and Philly just picking him apart. I don't think Philly stops him, but I do think he beats him to a decision. I think he beats him to a pretty comfortable decision. So aggressive first round for Burrito. May or may not win that round, but definitely starts to fade after that. And from that point on, Philly really starts to pick it up, and it starts to walk him down, touch him up, and wear on him, pepper him up, and beat him to a decision. Like I said, he'll be looking for the finish, but I don't think he'll necessarily materialize it. So in this one, I got Andre Philly via decision. Now to our co-main event, we have in the heavyweight division, Jake Collier versus Andre Arlovski, and I see this one right here. So Jake Collier, a fat middleweight or a fat light heavyweight, whatever you want to say, not a true heavyweight, but that hasn't really stopped him before at this weight class. But then again, what has he really accomplished? But this is a chance to get a big, decent accomplishment, even if Andre Arlovski is 90 years old and whatnot. It's still a chance to get a decent accomplishment. The biggest win of his career potentially. But I'm going with Arlovski here. I feel like, like I said, Collier can have the volume. He's definitely a younger fighter, pretty technical as well. But Arlovski is a truer heavyweight, and I don't really feel like Collier necessarily has any bigger threats. I feel like Arlovski's the better striker. I feel like Arlovski's the better wrestler, better grappler. But Collier does put in more volume, and that's really, I feel like, his best thing. But I feel like Arlovski shouldn't have to necessarily move too much. You're going with a guy that doesn't really have the heavyweight punching power. Not really worried about wrestling. I feel like Arlovski, and even giving that he has control of value, I feel like Arlovski still has the better footwork between the two. Still a much better boxer, and should be able to, make this a chess match and still limit the striking of Collier, and make Collier fight on his terms and still beat him in decision. It might be a case of it's not like Arlovski has been necessarily shutting all these guys out. It's like he's been winning the earlier rounds. They might win the third round or something. So I feel either he wins all 3 rounds in case, or I don't know, win some rounds here, win some rounds there. But either way, I feel like Arlovski's going to be able to do what he does and go out there, outstrike him, make this his fight. And I don't feel like Collier necessarily presents anything that's so different from the other guys he's fought as of late. Like these all these lower tier, bottom of the barrel heavyweights. And I feel like he should be able to beat him just about the same way. Maybe even better press him a little more because the fact that Collier doesn't have power. At least the other guys kind of have power. So Arlovski had to respect that a little bit, especially, being chinny as he is and like looking back at some of those losses. So he kind of had to be on a more defensive side, be on his toes a little bit more. With a guy like Collier, he don't really have to do that. But I feel like he's still going to do the same exact thing. Being with better guys, beat better guys. And I don't see much difference in this one. So in this fight, I have Andrei Arlovski via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the bantamweight division, Rob Font versus Marlon Vera. And how I see right here between Font versus Vera is, I think it's a very competitive fighting. Both of you guys match up pretty well. But yeah, one guy's got to win, and I think that's going to be Rob Font. I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. But I've seen how Vera deal with some things. I don't like how he really deal with Frankie Edgar in that fight. Didn't really like how he deal with David Grant in the second fight. And I like his strike. I like his overall skill set. I feel like he's the more necessarily well-rounded fighter, I would say. I feel like his grappling's better. I feel like his overall striking is not. I'm not saying that it's better, but I feel like he has more tools in a sense than Font. In a sense, I don't really feel like Font's kicks are all that great. I feel like Vera got decent punches, decent kicks. Well, definitely Vera has better kicks than punches. Font has better hands than kicks, but yeah, I don't know. Either way, like I said, these guys match up pretty well, is all I'm gonna say. But what I feel Rob Font has to lean on is I feel like he's the faster fighter. I feel like he's the better boxer. I don't like Vera's defense necessarily. His tendency to just go into shell mode and have no counters behind it, maybe like counter low kicks. But with Font's movement and stance switching, I feel like it caused issues. And I saw David Grant, even though he's not the greatest fighter and he's up there age and he's pretty telegraphed for most stuff he's doing, able to rip in the body, rip him up top, land a combination pretty decently. Maybe not completely flush, but constantly land a little switch stance, hook to the body, then overhand on Vera or touching with it. And I feel like Rob Font has shown the ability to do similar combinations, if not better combinations. Maybe not as powerful, but definitely much faster and definitely mixing up much more, not doing the same exact combinations. And I feel like Font will be the one looking to be the one first. I feel like Vera could come on strong in later rounds. Vera's a fight that kind of a slow starter but get stronger as the fight goes on. But I feel like that's not going to be the best recipe. I feel like this is going to be a fight where the guy who's going to win needs to be the guy coming on first. And I feel like Font has questionable cardio or is a fader necessarily, like he's going to fade so much that Vera's going to be to come in and start to have him all gassing and walk him down and tap him out or something or to stop him. And I feel like relying on that factor is not going to be the best reliance for either guy to rely on other guy fading. Both of the guys are gritty, both of the guys are tough, and both of the guys have no quit in them. So I see it as a decision either way. But I feel like also neither of them are not necessarily the greatest finishers at the highest level necessarily yet either. So I feel like in the case where Font speed and boxing, his jab will allow him to dictate the pace, and Vera's defense where he's like his tendency is to shell up and not really do anything back, especially not with the hands when he's shelling up. It will allow Font to continue to be first, and when he's doing be first, allow him to set up combinations because there's nothing coming back for the most part, and then probably even like I said, mixing some takedowns at points. Not really to do any, like not to really do anything with those takedowns, but points in there, score a takedown, land some ground and pound. Very probably try to reverse those submissions, but like I said, also that gives some rest areas where you can probably punch him in the body, like little pepper some shots to the body, pepper some shots to the top, very attempting some submissions, and then Font like ice rounds with some quick little takedowns in the rounds. But like I said, not really doing much, but being first and then give him a different look, scoring a takedown, getting rest areas, getting little breathing areas on Vera. And that's what I feel is the opening I see. Font's footwork, Font's speed, the stance switching, and the fact that Vera is not really a great counterpuncher and doesn't really have the greatest jab or the greatest hands. And he has solid kicks, but I have not really seen him be able to stop anyone with kicks, seem to affect people. But like I said, when you always allow people to be first and haven't really shown the area where to stop people from being first, is always the case of more so it kind of starts to fade and then he starts to come on more so than Vera actually finds an answer to address their aggressions. More so, they're starting to fade or they wear down to his pressure or something like that. But I don't see Font fading to that or anything like that. Like I said, I can definitely see Vera turning up like as he does late, but not to the degree I feel like it's gonna be able to shift the whole momentum of the fight. But competitive fight, definitely feel like Font should be winning early. Competitor fourth and fifth, whether Font gets them or not, but I feel like he'll definitely get most of those 3 rounds, first 3 rounds, probably 2 of 3, if not 3 of 3 of those first 3 rounds. Fourth and fifth, I feel like Vera will definitely get one of those rounds. But ultimately, I feel like Font will get at least 3 or 4 of the rounds of the 5 rounds. Like in a competitive fight, definitely not a one-sided fight, but Font's speed being first, the better boxing, and I guess the better counter ability as well will get his hand raised. So in this fight, I got Rob Font via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the 4 Carter fights for UFC Fight Night, Font versus Vera. And as always, thanks for watching.